Rome. One of these, called Pan, ruled over nature and pasture lands. He is frequently depicted in literature and artworks. Although he is not one of the major gods of ancient Greece, he is one of the most often referenced figures in Greek mythology. Okay, and then down here, Pan's powers, like the other gods of Olympus, Pan possessed enormous strength. He could also run for long periods of time and was impervious to injury. He could transform objects into different forms and was able to teleport himself from Earth to Mount Olympus and back. He is depicted as very shrewd with a wonderful sense of humor. In ancient Roman mythology, a similar god is called Faunus. And then you get into the Pan and the music. The mythological stories involving Pan usually involve his romantic interest in a lovely goddess of the woods who spurns his advances and gets turned into an inanimate object to escape him, or who otherwise flees from his ugly appearance. Remember, he's got the feet of a goat, the body of a man, and a very ugly face, or unattractive face. One story concerns Syrinx, a beautiful wood nymph. She flees from Pan's attentions, and her follow goddesses turn her into a river reed in order to hide her from him. As the wind blows through the reeds, they make a gentle musical sound because he does not know which reed Syrinx is heard. He cuts several from reeds. He cuts several from reeds from the group and set them in a line to make a musical instrument, the Pan flute. Pan's image is often depicted with this instrument. One story involving Pan is the tale of War, in which Pan helps his friend survive a vicious struggle by letting out an immense cry that frightened the enemy and caused him to run away. From this story we get the word panic, the sudden, uncontrollable fear that leads people into irrational behavior. But anyways, guys, I'll put a link to this. You guys can come read it if you want to. But again, Peter Pan, that's Pan himself. And so forth and so on. I mean, he's still very much a part of our world today as he was back then. Okay, going on down here. An unfinished pyramid topped by the all-seeing eye. This all-seeing eye requires help. It needs spy satellites to be even more all-seeing? Note, rocket trajectory is above all-seeing eye. Symbolism will be their downfall? Let's take a look at this one. Okay, and so on this patch, basically you got the same concept that's on the dollar bill. When you look at the dollar bill, you got the pyramid there and the all-seeing eye at the top. And in this case, this one has a rocket tree, a rocket in the image, in the patch itself. And again, you've got the stars involved in this as well. But basically it's saying that the all-seeing eye is tied in or attached to rocketry. And as I've showed you with several of my videos now, even the last video, in fact, I show you the trickery and wizardry that they do with these rockets, and they make you think that they're going out into outer space when in reality they're descending back to the Earth. And you can see it if you'll just pay attention to the numbers on the screen that they're giving you, rather than listening to the narrative that they're telling you. And and I've showed this over and over and over again in several different videos, that these rockets and such never go to space. Not ever. Not one time. They always come back and land on the Earth, in the ocean, or wherever they plan for that thing to splash down at or land at. Okay, and then we go on down here. Other NRO spy satellite launches have also used similar designs. We'll take a look at this one. And so here you have, again, the same thing. You've got the pyramid, the all-seeing eye at the top, with the reptilian eye in this case. And you've got a rocket being launched to space. So again, the all-seeing eye and the rocket are connected together and part of this all-seeing eye situation. This reptilian, this other seed line, this other group, this children of the wicked one. And then going on down, we got NRO. A patch of this mission features a creepy figure in a creepy hood looking over the Earth with creepy eyes, staring creepily at the American continent. If you look closely at the contour of the black face, you'll see another face with pointy nose and pointy ears, looking left. So this one here is the 23rd Space Operations Squadron, Semper Vigilance, and you've here it is. Here's the imagery here. Of course, you've got a star in here. You've got the pyramid, kind of, sort of, or aircraft, or however you want to look at this, stealth, whatever you want to look at. Then you've got this being here with some very weird, evil, wicked-looking eyes. Almost looks like a cyclops, looking directly onto the continent of America, South America. And the second face that he's talking about here is that you have the nose here, basically the mouth there, eyes up here, ear, and so forth and so on. So there's two different faces in one image, human and serpent, or human and hybrid, or human and angelic. Again, going back to the children of Cain, who think they are greater and better than any of us because they are part human and part angelic. But that's the imagery that's provided here. Then we go on down. He comes out and he says, "Si ego certorium faciam mihi tu delendas eris," is roughly translated to, "I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you." This is a cliche phrase, but considering these are the people who actually created it, they don't think it is corny. They're probably dead serious. So again, basically it says, if I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. Okay, and then so here's the actual patch itself, and it's just absolutely emptiness, darkness, which is what their soul, what their inward parts is absolute darkness. Interesting verse that Jesus puts out there is that of the light in you, or the darkness that's in you. And if it's darkness that is in you, how great is that darkness? Let's take a look at that verse. Over here in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 22 through 24, I'll switch it over to the King James Version. I know a lot of people don't like the NIV. Guys, I personally use all sorts of different translations. What I do is I've read the Bible now 4 times all the way through in just the King James Version, okay? And what I'll do is when I get to a situation and I'm trying to figure out and to study out what's going on, I'll go back to the original Hebrew word. And I'll try to figure out what the Hebrew word really meant and what it's saying, and then determine whether the King James Version got translated it properly. See, the problem is that one word in Hebrew may mean 2 or 3 different words in English, and the translator has to pick one of the 3 words to put into the translation, and they don't necessarily pick the right word for the translation, and so you have to go to another translation of your scriptures to get the right word translated correctly over. Now, understand that King James III himself did not translate your Bible, okay? I know it's called the King James Version and the New King James Version and so forth and so on, but King James himself did not translate it, okay? He had others do the translations for him. Again, if you don't know the history of your scriptures and how they came to you to this day, you really need to study that out, because your enemy out there, or those who are still sound asleep, that are working for the enemy currently because they haven't awoken yet and don't have the understanding or the light in them or the spirit of truth in them and haven't done the research, will come against you saying, well, how can you even trust the word of God? I mean, man translated it, man did this, man's not involved. God is involved all the way through to the current scriptures that are put before you today in the King James Version. Now, there are translation mistakes, but that's why that you can use the various different versions of the scriptures. So we'll go ahead and switch over to King James in this one and read it. The light of the body is the eye. Okay, this is one of the gates of the body, the eyes. The light of the body is the eye. If, therefore, thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if your eye be evil, okay, that your whole body shall be full of darkness. If, therefore, the light that is in you be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve 2 masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon, and mammon, if properly translated, would be money. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with here. But again, you know, everyone in the world basically, it has darkness inside of them. Why is that? Not by choice, but because we were programmed from the day we were born, and we don't have any truth whatsoever inside of us, and we are literally working our lives away, dying working. I mean, we don't live life. We are born, we go to school, we get an education. Well, I mean, we go to school, then we can drive, then we get an education, then we go to work, and then we while we're doing all that, in that process we have kids, and then we die. I mean, this is not the way it was intended to be, but the enemy has come in, taken over, and controls everybody, and everybody is serving Mammon, the god of this world, money, him, the wicked one, who controls the minds of men until the spirit of truth enters a person and they begin to seek the truth, and light begins to enter them. And then you begin to realize, wow, how great is that darkness that was in me, because I didn't know not one single truth the entirety of my life until I started to research and to discover the truth by the power of the Holy Spirit who leads us and guides us. Okay, NROL-66, the red minotaur, as if hailing directly from hell, holding a street sign of the mythical Route 66. It is rather difficult not to see an allusion to the devil and the number 666. And he puts down here 666, signal to POTUS. They control the market. Signal, threat, welcome to the global war. Q. Okay, and so here you have North America, Canada up here, Mexico down here, and the United States with obviously, you know, the American flag. Then you have 66 here and 66 here, and this is, you know, sixes, 666666666. It's just a continual, you know, it's all about six. Everything on here is six, and it says get your kicks on 66, and then you have basically a bull and the bull horns. Remember in the last video I showed you how all your religious preachers, your all mega churches and Pope and all them guys use the horns of the bull, right? That they're showing you that they worship Satan and Satan alone, period. Whether you like it or not, that's who they worship. And what they show you with their symbolism, and all your presidents of old, Clinton, Bush, Bush Senior, all of them, they all show you that symbolism because that's who they work for, that's who they are the children of, and they live in darkness. And you can see that, of course, this bull, this devilish bull, is on a rocket, again showing you the symbolism of rocketry and the wizardry of rocketry that doesn't actually happen. No one goes out to actual space. Again, Air Force is infiltrated, therefore you have to create the Space Force, and the Space Force is the one that's going to allow the truth to come out. And then yeah, over here they give you this picture of basically their worshipping of Moloch. Again, that still goes on to this very day. Nothing's changed, nothing new under the sun. What has been shall be, and what is has already been. Nothing new under the sun. And here they would put people in here, and then they would burn them alive. And you also see that there's a bowl that continually is moved around Epstein Island. Okay, you've got the two cockatoos, which when you put the cockatoos facing each other, that's an owl. So you got the owl symbology, plus you got the cockatoo symbology, plus you got the cow symbology. Basically, you got all. Plus you have the Egyptian symbology. Literally, you have all the symbology needed to understand the completeness of this work of darkness, all right there on Epstein Island. But again, this is, they would burn them, children, people, whatever, you know, child sacrifice to Moloch. And again, it says, welcome to the global war. Remember, this is a battle between good versus evil, light versus darkness, God versus Satan. And we're smack in the middle of this. All of us. Whether we want to be or not, we're right smack in the middle of this. Okay. We own the night and owl symbolism. I have also connected Y head China to NRO. We see the owls. Do you see the Y in the head logo? Okay, so we own the night. Remember, owls are night-seeing creatures. They can see very good at night. They have owl eyes are designed to see in the darkness. And these people operate in the darkness. They do all of their works and all of their sorcery, witchcraft, so forth, so on. All of it is done behind the scenes in darkness. Nobody's aware of it except for select individuals. So here you have National Reconnaissance Office. We own the night, and it literally says it right there, and it is within a spider web, and inside of the spider web you've got the owl, and inside of, with the owl it's holding some kind of a sword, or some two separate swords, or whatever this is. And then you have here South America, into America is in the background here, and this patch was 2000. Okay, next to it we have We Own the Night, once again with the owl symbolism, lightning bolt striking through. You've got the Earth, and you've got the basically the stealth bomber looking arrow type thing here with the Earth, and things going around the Earth. Again, we own the night. As long as you live in the darkness, they control you until you come to the truth and to the light. Okay, and then he gives us this one here, which again is another triangle, always using triangles, and you've got an owl's face, and you also have the Y in the owl's face, very important. Okay, and then here you have Head right here. This is their website, and this is about Head, and again it's about wizardry, about space, about all the nonsense. And then we'll look up Head here up close. And so he gives us this here, Head, and you can see the 2 stars, and you can see the Y right here, the Y in the H. There's a Y inside of it. And really, if you look at it, what it is the dawning of day on a spherical Earth, and they are the head of the Earth. You know, so they think. The reality is, Adam was given dominion, ownership of the Earth. Adam and Eve, they lost that dominion, that ownership of the Earth, when they obeyed Satan, or obeyed the serpent, which we later find out is the devil, or Satan. And therefore Satan became the god of this world rather than Adam. And then as time goes forward, Jesus comes, shows up, takes back ownership of the earth, gives the authority and the power of the kingdom of heaven into your hands to tread on serpents and to do the works that are needed, so that he can return, because as he said, he will sit at the right hand of the Father up there in the heavens until his enemies are made his footstool. And I've showed you this in video after video after video. Okay, and here it is, guys, Matthew chapter 22. It's also in the book of Psalms. It's also in the book of Luke. It's, it's several places. The Lord, that is the Father, said unto my Lord, that is Jesus, sit you on my right hand till I make thine enemies your footstool. And in this case, it is a question mark. But he's saying, at what point did he say this to any of his angels? He didn't. He never said it. He said it to Jesus alone. And we'll just show you also in the book of Mark, like I said, it's in several places in the scriptures. Here it is not a question, it is a statement. Mark chapter 12, verse 36, for David himself said, by the Holy Ghost, the Lord said to my Lord, sit you on my right hand till I make thine enemies your footstool. Understand that Jesus will not return until all of his enemies on the earth are made into his footstool, until they are eliminated, till they are done away with, till they are submissive to the Lord of Lords, the King of Kings. Remember, you're a king and a priest. He is the king over the kings, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. You are very, very, very important, but you don't know that because you've been programmed, and I didn't know that because I've been programmed. When I say you, I'm talking about me as well, always. Never pointing at you individually, but all of us as a whole. Okay, so we get through that symbology there, and then it goes here. Now, to gain control of this entity, here is what POTUS has done. Trump names new acting director of national intelligence, and then he gives us this link. And again, I'll have a link to this entirety of this thread, guys. If you want to read this article, come to intheMatrixx's thread, come down to this point, click on this, and read the article for yourself. I'm not going to put the article in the show more, okay? Just the link to intheMatrixx's thread. Did you know there was a new NRO director confirmed on 8/5/19? Christopher Scolles was sworn in as the 19th director of the National Reconnaissance Office. And then he gives us this link, new director of National Reconnaissance Office sworn in. And you can go read this link. Then, in August of 2009, FOIA archives were quarried with a copy of the NRO video, Satellite Reconnaissance, Secret Eyes in Space. The 7-minute video chronicles the early days of the NRO and many of its early programs. Now, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this, guys. Hang on. Let me get it set up for you guys. And we'll take a look at this, because this is, remember I told you in, I believe it was the last video, and also in another video, but I believe in the last video specifically, I told you that these satellites are launched by high altitude balloons, not by rockets. When the rocket is launched and all that, that's just a show, that's just wizardry, that's just sorcery, that's just them creating an illusion to control the minds of men to make you think there's space. But in reality, these satellite dishes are launched by high altitude balloons that are the size of 10 to 15 football fields in size, and they're launched up on these balloons. And as the balloons wear out, these planes come in, these reconnaissance planes come in, grab a hold of the satellite dish, disconnect the balloon from it, and then they're loaded into the satellite dish is loaded into the airplane, and then it's brought down to the earth, and then it's reattached to a balloon and sent back up all over again. And these pilots have top secret clearance, and even leaders of military bases are not allowed on board their airplanes. They have weapons, and they are commanded to use them if necessary. Now, modern technology doesn't put these on balloons, because balloons tend to drift and to go wherever the jet streams and the upper atmosphere winds cause the balloon to go. So nowadays you not only have them on balloons, and you still have them on balloons, but you have them in high altitude crafts that are running on solar power, direct energy from the sun, and they can stay up there for years, decades if necessary. And they're all electronic now. And there's never any clouds up there, so they're all, they have batteries to store the energy, so that when it goes into the dark phase, when the sun moves out of their range, not set, but just moves out of the range as it goes around the circle of the earth, then they run on batteries until the sun comes back around and begins to charge the craft again. And this is how they keep your satellite dishes up there nowadays. But we're going to go ahead and watch this, guys, because I want you to see some things. I want you to understand some things of how they took these things, they launch them on balloons, then these reconnaissance aircrafts come in and collect it.
In the years after World War II, America's leaders feared a surprise attack from our Cold War adversary, the Soviet Union. With the advent of intercontinental ballistic missiles in the late 1950s, Soviet nuclear weapons could reach and destroy American cities in only 30 minutes. The need to know what was going on inside the Soviet Union grew urgent. This photograph of a Soviet bomber base was taken in 1966 by a satellite orbiting the Earth at 17,000 miles per hour. At a time when the communist world remained cloaked in secrecy, American reconnaissance satellites were passing silently overhead, gathering vital information on the Soviet military and its weaponry, and guarding against a surprise attack. In early efforts to pry loose Soviet secrets, the United States sent balloons and reconnaissance aircraft over the Soviet Union. When a U-2 spy plane was shot down by the Soviets in May 1960, America's glimpse of enemy territory suddenly went dark. Fortunately, an alternative to the spy plane was already in preparation, the result of years of planning and effort. In 1958, President Eisenhower instructed the Central Intelligence Agency and the Air Force to jointly oversee the development of a photo-reconnaissance satellite. Initially operating under the cover name Discoverer, the satellite was said to be part of a biomedical research program. But the real mission of the top-secret Corona project was intelligence. Launched by a Thor booster, Corona satellites would fly in an orbit about 100 miles high around the Earth's poles, photographing intelligence targets below. The exposed film was ejected from the satellite in a capsule, would then be snatched in mid-air over the Pacific Ocean and flown to processing facilities. Thousands of people worked in utmost secrecy and under tight deadlines to transform this idea into reality, overcoming many difficult technical problems along the way. Lockheed Missiles and Space Division, Hi-Tech Corporation, General Electric, and Eastman Kodak were the major contractors for the Corona spacecraft and camera. The entire program was overseen by a new and top-secret agency based in the Pentagon, the National Reconnaissance Office.
3, 2, 1.
At first, the program seemed plagued by misfortune. But after 12 consecutive failures, the capsule of the 13th Discoverer mission became the first object ever recovered from orbit. A week later, on August 18, 1960, Discoverer 14 returned the first spy photographs of the Soviet Union taken from space. Less than 4 months after the U-2 had been shot down, the United States now had a secret eye in space that could peer behind the Iron Curtain. The first pictures taken by the Corona camera were fuzzy and showed little detail. In this early photograph of the Mishmita airfield in the Soviet Arctic, no object smaller than 40 feet across was recognizable. But in just over a year, resolution had improved to 12 feet. Later improvements included adding more film and a second camera for stereo imaging. With one camera looking forward and one looking back, the objects in the photographs could be viewed in 3 dimensions. By the time the Corona program ended in 1972, it was possible to see a line of visitors to Lenin's tomb in Red Square. By providing hard evidence that the Soviet Union had no decisive advantage in nuclear weapons and was not preparing a sneak attack, satellite imagery proved invaluable to America's leaders. In the years after the first successful mission, reconnaissance satellites helped to lessen Cold War tensions and helped achieve, in the early 1990s, a reduction in the nuclear arsenals of both sides. Today's reconnaissance satellites no longer return capsules of film from space, but rely upon electronic technology to transmit detailed images directly from orbit, allowing rapid analysis of a developing threat. In ways that not even Corona's visionaries could have imagined, satellite reconnaissance is now used to dispel fears, warn of danger, and help keep the peace from the ultimate vantage point of space.
Okay, so now you're going to have to use, of course, logical thinking and realize that these rockets, they're not in outer space, they are inside of the firmament, and they are not launched on these rockets. As I've shown time and time again, these rockets do not ever make it to space. They don't. They are launched on high altitude balloons and other very high flying craft that are all solar powered nowadays. These things are not in outer space, so you're just going to have to use your own logic based on your own understanding of the scriptures and of the truth and of reality to unlock what's being said here, because again they're trying to pull off the narrative of space for a future agenda of an alien invasion, as foretold by George Herbert Walker Bush Sr. But it made it very clear, guys, that these things are picked up by reconnaissance aircraft and brought back down to the earth. Now, most of what goes on today, they don't need to go up and to pick anything up. It is simply transferred from the satellite dish that's up there straight down to the ground, and no need for aircrafts to go up and down anymore, because they got the ability to keep these things up there for weeks, months, and even years on end if necessary. And I've showed you that on my Pinterest page, some of the technologies that are being used. And we have zero gravity or zero G vehicles now, and the ability to travel anywhere on the earth in a matter of minutes to hours, and not 14, 15 hours, but just unbelievable speed. All this technology is withheld from us, the everyday person, but in due time will be revealed, and we will be able to have it, including free or almost nearly free energy, so low of a cost that really it doesn't even affect you. But nevertheless, let's get back to the thread. Okay, so that was that video. And again, it says in August 2009, FOIA archives were queried for a copy of the NRO video. Satellite Reconnaissance, Secret Eyes in Space. The 7-minute video chronicles the early days of the NRO and many of its early programs. And we saw in the video that that was all the way back in the 1960s. So maybe the average person watching wasn't quite yet born, and for some of you guys, you were alive at the time, but weren't aware of what was taking place. Continuing down, NRO has a big bird, and this is the picture of Big Bird that was up there. But let's take a look at what Q had to say. Post 2019, right? 2019, 2019, Big Bird 9, now offline. See, so you're seeing that while everyone's been caught up and saying nothing's happening and blah 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 and blah, everybody's complaining and bickering and no one's being arrested and nothing's happening in the background. It's all Q is a LARP and blah blah. And I mean, just for all this time, things were going on in the background and people had no understanding. Q is at the finish line, guys. At the finish line. This was posted at August 30th, 2018. And here you have Big Bird. This is the actual Big Bird, and it is on display. You can go and look at it. This is the Big Bird that was taken offline. Okay, coming back over here. Here is the show we did to kick off the NRO dig. There are some extra tidbits in there, and I'm going to post you a link directly to this YouTube video. This is the Matrixxx Groove Hour. If you're not subscribed to him, I would suggest that you get subscribed to him. Seriously, I mean, intheMatrixxx does amazing decodes, guys. Great decoder. I'm telling you, if you're not subscribed to him, you really need to be. And then we come down here and it says, what if NROC, the mirror of it, C-O-R-N, right here, corn. See, what if NROC equals corn? National Reconnaissance Operations Center, question mark? That would be center being the C, operations being the O, reconnaissance being the R, N being the national. So corn. Space is critical to our national security. And I hope now at this point you're beginning to see that the Wizards and the Warlocks controlled the eye in the sky, the all-seeing eye, the one that could see, understand, hear, do everything that anybody on the earth was doing. Okay? It's absolutely important. There is no, quote, space because there's a firmament in the way. But there's equipment and there's abilities to monitor, to track, to pay attention to anything that's going on anywhere on the earth. And I'm talking about communications, imagery, and so forth and so on. And by the way, those of you that think that your satellite dishes are your GPS, that's not the case. Your GPS is completely ran by ground-based towers. That's how GPS functions. It uses 3 different towers to pinpoint your location. GPS does not work up in an airplane, okay? It only works on the ground because the entire system for GPS is on the ground, not up on a satellite. Okay, satellites are used for reconnaissance, for imagery, and these kinds of things, and communications, and so forth and so on. Not for GPS systems. The GPS system is completely and utterly ground-based, completely, 100%. Okay, nothing to do with satellite dishes, even though that's what they tell you. Okay, so space is critical to our national security. And Q told us that, and then NRO, and then it gives this link. The commercialization of space is harvesting technologies that were formerly exclusively used by the government. Hat tip to @MAGAHabins. I'm gonna go ahead and follow who that. I'll get to studying Habins out a little bit later and see if I want to stay following. But I'm gonna go ahead and follow for now, and @POTUS, and let's see what we have here for Comey. Okay, so post number 3525. The corn is now ripe for harvesting is the title that qmap.pub gave it, and the actual image name is 90.jpg. Now that's interesting in and of itself. But anyway, so he gives this link to James Comey's status, which has this picture here, and Q says, was the corn ripe for harvesting? Well, it is now. And then he gives these coordinates right here, and then Q. Okay, and then we have this right here. It says commercialization of space as a driver. This mix of commercial and government development is a tremendous lever arm to help us achieve our vision. Today, a multitude of commercial ventures in space are racing to achieve bold new innovations. Venture capitalists are starting up new companies with big ideas. The international marketplace has recognized the advent of space and will field a variety of systems. The commercialization of space is harvesting technologies that were formerly exclusively used by the government. This government investment in key technologies is now paying off to a variety of users. Commercializations will give the government an opportunity to take advantage of this progress to save money. As I said earlier, some of our needs can be addressed by leasing or purchasing commercial spacecraft. This will allow our thinking to go, for example, from military satellites for communications to satellites for military communications. As government expenditures in space continue to decrease, the commercial space marketplace helps to keep factories open and workers employed. The government will continue to have its unique needs and therefore uniquely focused technology programs, but we no longer have to carry as large a portion of the space infrastructure. So again, the harvesting is of the technology. And he also put here that we have post 443, and he put, CubeMap put as a title, shuttle program coming back. And anonymous post, I'm from Southern California. Everybody worked their butts off to win in space. So many people that made a lot of money in the 70s till 80s, it was a dream to make your country the greatest on earth. So many dreams destroyed, a fountain of talent squashed and sold out. It really hurts. We really cried when we watched each shuttle launch and knew we did that. Then Q says, it's coming back in a big way. Space is critical to our national security, was terminated for a specific reason. Godspeed, Patriots. Q. Again, guys, there is no space. But like space hotels and all these things, these low Earth orbit type things, that's going to be a thing of the future where you can like put a hotel up there inside of the firmament, but it'd be like at the outer reaches of space pretty much, or way up there looking down on the Earth, and you'd be able to have space hotels and space facilities. Remember, space is your body is occupying an area of space. Space is from the surface of the Earth. Earth is the solid surface below your feet. Okay, that's what Earth is. And from that solid surface up is all space. There's space between you and the screen, the black screen that you're looking at, the black magic box, the screen that you're looking at. There's distance between any two objects is space. Okay, on your keyboard, what is it? It is a line underscore line. That's your space. There's space. A distance between two objects is what space is. Okay. Now, they've given you the concept that space exists out there and there's no gravity and there's all these things. At what point do you go from gravity to no gravity? You know, and there's so many questions when it comes to space because none of it makes any sense because there is no space. But space is going to come back in a big way. The technologies, the harvesting of those technologies are going to be made available to us, the everyday citizens, or we, the people, or the patriots. It's very important. The space program is designed to shut all this stuff down that they've been doing and to open up the technologies for all of us, as well as to control space, or the vastness of our firmament between us and the bottom of the firmament. Okay, so here, corn ready to be cut. Corn ready to be cut. Remember that odd language? NROC clue. Okay, National Reconnaissance Operations Center clue. All your base belong to us. Same language being put here. C before D, Coates before D class, new DNI and new director NRO. Think mirror, corn equals NROC. Boom, at POTUS. Okay, so what's happening here? You have to remove Coates before you can do D class, because he is the one controlling it. You're starting to see this. So you get Coates before D class, you get a new DNI, a Director of National Intelligence, and you get a new Director of the National Reconnaissance Operations. And once that takes place, then everything is under control of the Patriots, and once that happens, D class becomes available. There's nothing holding it back anymore. So this whole time that people have been saying nothing's going on, everything has been going on. You just don't realize that this is spiritual. This whole battle is spiritual, and it's applied in the physical. With the DNI was put in position to basically oversee all of the operations of all of the organizations. It's the top of the top. Okay, so let's take a look at the pictures. Okay, then we had Devin Nunes's tweet, and it said corn ready for to be cut, and it gave a picture of the corn. And then we had a article come out, new Director of National Reconnaissance Office sworn in. And so this was June 27th. Following the Senate confirmation June 27th, the new Director of the NRO was sworn in August 5th. Okay, so there you have the new Director of the NRO. And then we go ahead and go back to this original patch where the dragon or draconian symbolism is, and it all your base are belong to us, all your base are servant to us. It can mean either one. Okay, so all of your military, all of your bases, all of your stuff is subservient to us, the NRO. And then it gives us this picture here, and again on the Sega system, all your base are belong to us. Again, nothing new under the sun. They can't come up with anything new. So when you're watching video games, playing video games, they're putting the truth in front of you without you knowing, because you're programmed not to see it. Yeah, like you'll see Centurions and things like that in your video games. All that's based on the past and hybridizations and things that have happened in the past. Think mirror corn. So now the tech that we are ready to harvest now. We have a new DNI and a new Director of the NROC. And then last part of this, guys, is adding today's show to the thread. Open tweet for more, and NROC equals corn, and then he gives this video here. So I'll link this video to you guys, and this video here to you guys as well in the description of the video you're watching. So guys, I hope this has helped you to see better how all this is operating, how all this is functioning, give you a bigger, broader picture of things, and understand that our favorite Patriot Q is at the finish line, and all we're waiting on is for the American and the people of the earth all over the earth to wake up through the movie that's being played out for everybody, to shake them loose of the programming and to open their eyes that something's not right, and to receive the spirit of truth, and to begin to dig and to understand. And then you guys that have already begun to know and to understand are going to be able to help others when the time comes for everyone to begin the Great Awakening, and they're going to have questions and they're going to need answers, and that's where all of us are going to come in to help them to understand these things. Remember that the end is not for everybody. Okay, it's just not, especially not for the children of the kingdom of darkness. Okay, those people will not ever receive it. They will be executed in some way, form, or fashion. They will have to face the consequences of all their decisions. So there you go, guys. Again, I'll have a link to this entire thread. Excellent thread by intheMatrixxx. And again, if you're not following him, guys, I would highly suggest that once you get over to the thread, that you just go ahead and click on follow and begin to follow him. So I'll talk with you guys later, and may the grace of God be with you guys all, and may he bless you guys all. May he protect the President of the United States, the Q team, and all patriots. May he send his angels to battle on our behalf and to expose the works of darkness that's going on in the spiritual realms, and to open the eyes of mankind and allow us to move forward. Wonderful days ahead, guys, as soon as we can get through all the times and trials and struggles. Again, keep your eyes open at all times. See something, say something, post it to Twitter, do whatever you got to do. Just make sure other people are aware of it. And in this way, sometimes we can stop some of these false flags, and so we don't lose any more people. But nevertheless, we are in a battle, guys, a very real battle. Our side of it is spiritual. The military side is physical, and they're taking down the enemy. And so many things are going on in the background, guys, that you just aren't simply aware of. And I hope that this video here has helped to show you that while everybody thought nothing was going on, there was a whole lot of things going on. POTUS came into office, and he began in each of the different offices, the FBI, the CIA. He started to clean out the house, just clean the swamp guys out so that he could operate and function. In the meanwhile, you had the Democratic Party put roadblocks up, okay, insurance plans and roadblocks, so that the POTUS couldn't do his job and do what he needed to do in order to take them down. But step by step, behind the scenes, everything was being taken care of until we got to where we are today, where we're now seeing the DNI step down. We're seeing the acting DNI come into position on the 15th, and then eventually we'll get the real true DNI. But once the acting DNI gets in there, McGuire's in there, he'll begin to clean house in the DNI area. And we already got someone in the NROC, or the corn, or the NRO, as we saw toward the end of the thread. And so that area there is now being cleaned up as well. And so wonderful, wonderful times ahead, guys. Just keep your eyes open and get in the Word, guys. Stay in the Word and get the Word in you. The most important thing you can possibly do. Trust your Father in heaven first and foremost, then trust Q. And remember, guys, that other than the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, the two most important things are love and truth. After that, peace and justice.